Well, good evening. Good evening. Just going to do a breakdown on my trade today on pound yen. So, going into the session, my bias was bullish. So, I was potentially looking for buys. However, based on where we were, I was sort of looking, well, if I was going to take buys, where's my targets going to be? And I just found it a little bit difficult because we are sort of within this daily zone. Now, this daily zone's a rejection zone. And just looking at where this 4 hour candle closed at 2 a.m., we can see here that we rejected a 4 hour resistance or a 4 hour support. Sorry, looking left, so I've had rejection, 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 rejection. I've also had some rejection in here, and this candle's just rejected it on the close. Now, if we're just looking at this candle alone, it's a big fat green candle. What do we expect next? Well, some form of upside. So it could be that if we were to continue, then the next sort of the first level of interest would be, of course, here, because that is the most recent sort of resistance on the 4 hour time frame. Now we also have a daily support in here which forms that zone, and beyond that, the next sort of level might be this area, which is the area which was treated to, I believe, on Tuesday. So or Monday. I think that was the 16th. Monday. Yeah. So they're the sort of areas I'm thinking of. Well, if I was going to buy, that is where I could buy to. Now, based on where we are, it's a little bit difficult, I think, to sort of target those areas just because we're in a sort of support zone. There's a 4 hour support which we've just rejected of. There's a daily support there. Then we're pushing up to the monthly. So I'm thinking, well, if we sort of maybe push down, form some sort of support here, could we then maybe look to target the Asian range? Asian high potentially is your second target after Asian low, and then continuation maybe into this sort of hourly zone here. If we do get a close above, early on, if we open strongly, you could maybe well like look if we close here, any sort of pullbacks and respect of the bottom of the zone, then we can push up and target the monthly resistance. So that's my sort of thought process today, based off of if I was going to buy. Now my session base is bullish, so I'm usually always buying or selling in line with the base. So today, you know, buys were excuse me, buys were what I was first thinking of, but I actually took a sell today. And the reason behind the sale was based off of the daily and what the daily was showing. And this is sort of what the daily um was looking like at the time. Okay. So we can see we have a big daily support zone. We've broke through, formed a target, we've pushed up, formed a resistance, and yesterday's daily candle closed below this support zone. So to me, I'm thinking if we're looking at triangles, then if we can sort of reject the support zone, we could maybe push down and target that. Now that's solely just from a daily perspective, not taking into consideration zones or what levels we have in between, just pure based off of candles. Okay. So when I seen the sort of price rejecting off this support zone, and that rejection is that 30-minute candle from the second 30-minute candle of the new 4 hour open, which is also the first hour. I was thinking to myself, well, actually, sales do make sense based on where we are. I'm sort of envisioning this candle potentially, if we start to continue to push down, and we target the sort of yesterday's daily low, that would mean that the current daily candle would then be flipping bearish, and that could potentially lead for price to target the bottom here. And that's sort of what I've drawn out. You can see here any sort of rejection here and then push down, target that. But also what I've got here is, well, if we have formed a target, this is also a support. So because we are trading bullish overall, if this daily candle closes bullish, this could just be a higher support than the previous to continue up and complete that triangle, and then continue in line with the overall higher time frame bias. So that was a possibility. So we've sort of got two options there. That's what I'm looking at. But the more I sort of looked at price, and as price developed throughout the session, sales made more sense. We can see this is the first half an hour of the new 4 hour. We're still within the range. The next 30 minute smashes through, closes strongly below the support. We're sort of leaving this zone as well. And if I just think to myself, well, if I'm going to enter here, where's targets, right? Well, if we disregard the 4 hour resistance and just keep that in the back of our mind that it's an area to pay attention to, the first thing I see is this clean candle. So I'm thinking, if we have pushed up, we've then formed a sort of support and resistance, a bit of a range. This is our breakout candle. So if we have pushed down heavy, and if we either continue, I feel like we should hit that no problem. Also, if we close here, we maybe say reject. If we respect the support zone and we maybe reject, then I feel we could still achieve that target. So that's what I'm looking at. Now, from a zone perspective and a sort of level perspective, the sort of second target or main target I have would be here, because this is a sort of I think it is, let me just double check, it is a daily resistance. Okay, now I'm on the 4 hour chart, but it's also as a strong daily level, like we can see here. So if I just go back to the 30-minute time frame, this is where I'd be looking at first. Okay, so we've got the close here, or the mirror this candle here, sorry, and then we've got here. So there are my two areas I'm thinking of. Now, if I just bring on my short position, this is where I actually got involved in a trade. And you can see where my stop loss is. I actually used the daily high because I was sort of envisioning that daily, the daily candle earlier, but I wasn't holding for the daily to flip and continue down. My target was just to mirror this candle. Now, this actually lined up pretty well with being a 0.5 risk reward, because that's where I've been closing my positions out at this week and last week, based on what my data says. So I would, if I'd have just used a breakout candle, I would have got a better risk to reward. However, I had a little bit more, you could say, safety net having the daily high in a sense, but that's sort of the reason why I had that there. Now, if I wanted to improve my trade, I would have a tighter stop loss. Okay, but that was my thought process on the sell, and I was thinking, well, this candle's closed strongly to the downside. We're below support. We have a clean candle left to mirror. Thinking about that daily and how that's going to develop, we're pushing down. It's definitely an option. So it's one I got involved in. And the only thing between my entry and my target was this 4 hour resistance. Now, this is quite a strong area in a sense that we've had reaction at it here. We also had a reaction at it here and here. So it is a strong level across the board. So, and this because we are bullish for the session, this could be the area where price forms its support to continue higher. So that's also something I'm thinking of. And see, to be honest, if a bullish support had formed here on the 30-minute or the 15-minute, or we got sharp rejection and we started to maybe break lower time frame resistance and stuff, I think I would have exited the trade, because I know it's a risky trade, because I'm going against the session bias and of course where we are. Okay, because there's every chance that this could potentially form that daily support for continued upside. So with that in mind, this is how the trade played out. So we actually achieved target, and it was a trade which I was paying attention to on the lower time frames, solely based off of the 4 hour level. I wanted to pay attention to that and see what was happening. But the 15-minute, we kind of stalled here, then we pushed up, and then we closed. And then we sort of respected the previous lower time frame structure in here, and we hit target. Now, something which I done yesterday was, when we started to reject and looked like we were going to close back inside the range, I closed my position. And this candle here, this green one, is kind of similar to yesterday's trade, because the sort of 5 minute candle was doing that, and I went nope, closing it, and then I gave myself a second chance as we started to push down. But in knowing how the trade actually played out yesterday, I noticed that, and I noticed that we are respecting respecting structure on the lower time frame. So until we actually close above here, above this resistance, the structure on the lower time frame is still valid. Therefore, doesn't give you an indication to exit the trade. And learning from yesterday's mistake, in a sense, I remained in the position and price did continue. And as you can see, the structure was respected all the way. So that was my trade breakdown on pound yen. Oh, just another thing. Breakout candles. This current year, breakout candles leading into the session, during the session, regardless of bias, regardless of direction, trading breakout candles. If I was to take a trade on the entry, or sorry, if I entered a trade on the close of breakout candle and the stop loss below or above the support or resistance and targeted a 1-to-1, I actually have a 75% chance of hitting that target. So that also played a factor in me executing this sell today, because regardless of the directional bias, I know that when I trade a breakout candle, I have a high win rate of that happening, right? And also the fact that I'm not even targeting the 1-to-1, I'm actually targeting half of that. So technically then you'd probably say that the win rate should actually be increased then. So that was just another factor which gave me confidence to execute this trade. My data's telling me we've got clean candle to the left, we're below support. The sort of daily the daily chart at that time and the daily view looks like we're sort of rejecting, and we could continue down at least to here anyway. We might not get to here, we might not flip, or we might not continue down, but all the signs are sort of there to saying that we're going to push down from here. So I just wanted to mention that was another factor in why I got involved in the sale today. So that is my sort of trade breakdown on GJ.